So our first keynote today is by the wonderful John Tapim, who is one of my colleagues at the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. John is going to give us a talk on the history and future of sea country co-management. John has over 21 years experience in facilitating and advocating greater understanding, respect and recognition of traditional laws and customs of Great Barrier Reef traditional owners in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. He is responsible for providing expert advice in issues affecting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, both in the society setting and specifically in regard to management of their sea country. His work also includes providing culturally based advice within the Marine Park Authority and respectful partnership relationships with traditional owners. John has represented the authority at national and international conferences and forums via direct participation through providing presentations and supporting information booths. So thank you, John, if you'd like to come up.
I did not write any of that. Debatim karabuai, karanei peke marawata, karaged pe zenatkes, Miriam ged. I just wanted to say good morning, everybody. My name is John Tapim. I am a Torres Islander by descent from the Miriam Nation, eastern part of the Torres Straits. And I work for the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. Before I get going, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that we're on here today. And I'd like to pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I also too want to acknowledge the Great Barrier Reef traditional owners whose sea country that for myself I'm so blessed to work and talk about and make partnerships with. And I'll talk a little bit about that today, but I also want to pay special respects to, I've got two traditional owners that have sort of brought down with myself and Todd Dodson, who's part of our team, to share some of their experiences. And those that were in the room and part of the workshop yesterday would have seen and heard Brent. If Brent and Karen could stand, please. And just, I think we got a lot of value out of both of those two blokes coming down and sharing some of their personal experiences. It's not easy for mob to talk about themselves, but those guys did a really good job yesterday, so thank you. All right, so I've been asked to talk a little bit about history and future of sea country management, co-management, so I've only got 20 minutes. It is a long story. I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible. And we've got time for some questions and answers, yes, a little later on. I'm also mindful that I've spoke a little bit about some of the business that we do as well. So hopefully do the job justice. So I know most of you are researchers and academics. I'm sorry I don't do PowerPoint by dot points or anything like that. So I'm sorry I don't do a lot of writing. English for me is a third language, so and I'm not very good at it anyway. So look, I start by history. The Marine Park Authority has been around for some time. Over my 22 years at the authority, we have, there's been a lot of change, but also one of the things here, and I just want to start by saying that, through this presentation, I do have images of some deceased TOs, and I do have permissions to use those. And one of the reasons why I've actually put this particular one up is this is from a forum back in 2012, where we've over a long period of time we continually bring mob together, ask them what they want, and we walk away and look, have we achieved some stuff? Yes, but have we achieved everything? No. This is 2012. There's a large number of traditional owners, elders in that photo that are no longer with us today. And, it sort of hurts me a little bit personally that we haven't delivered on some of the things that we've asked and that we've committed to and that we've spoken about. And that's a challenge, not only for government, for everybody, I do recognise that. As part of it, in terms of the history, is being on country with mob and understanding what their values are. who they are, where their country is, what's important to them, and trying to see it through their lens in terms of what's important to them. Too often we go with, I've got this, I need to deliver this, are you interested? Come, we'll but we need to first understand who we're talking to and the country. And these floorboards are quick. So we spend a lot of time doing that. We, as an organisation, we're committed to trying to do better and trying to evolve and trying to, be, the new buzzword around town is agile, and commit ourselves to, always improving and innovating our business with traditional owners. And we're no different. So that first photo was 2012. This one here is 2019. A lot of different faces. Mob 2, they're evolving on the ground. Some of their old people are stepping down. Some of their old people are passing away. So some of that knowledge has been lost, but a lot of it also too been passed on to the newer generation. And so for us is trying to maintain those linkages and understanding the history of, in Australia, we really struggle. We really struggle with, we need to draw a line in the sand. We need to move forward. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the past is a big part of our culture. It's a big part of who we are, and it's a big part of the decisions that we make going forward. So this is all part of it, and we need to reflect and move forward. I just want to acknowledge the chairman of our board, Dr. Ian, pointed out the back there. He's an absolute #1 supporter of our traditional owner business, and whenever he's asked to attend something, he's there, and that's the type of commitment that we try to strive for. In terms of, talking a little bit about the history where we've got people that have come, gone, we also need to be committed to join in partnership and draw the line in the sand and have those moments where we're sort of like binding together to be able to, discuss some of those things that are really hard. Co-management, having traditional owners be true managers of country and having their hands on the steering wheel to be able to manage country going forward. And, these sorts of moments where we can stand with them on the ground, on their country, when they need us, is important, and we need to do that. And that's part of creating a better future for sea country management. I showed this map yesterday in terms of the work that I do in terms of the Traditional Use of Marine Resource Agreement program. That's the section that I'm acting director for at the minute. And so our primary purpose is we're the flagship program in terms of traditional engagement in the marine park. And when we're looking for the future, this is part of it. It's not the whole story. It's one tool in the toolbox. There's many other tools. Not everybody wants an agreement like this. Not everybody wants a formal agreement. Some of them just want to sit at the table and have a conversation and be part of a conversation and have their voice heard. There's all different layers, and we have to be agile enough to be able to understand that and accommodate that in our business, whether it's a $20,000 project that you got to do over 2 months or a $50 million project that you got to do over 8 years or 9 years. So this here is just a bit of a footprint in terms of our traditional use program. We have 10 agreements in the marine park at the moment that cover 43% of the marine park coastline. There's over 21 traditional owner clan groups that are captured in that footprint, but it's a small footprint still. There's over 70 traditional owner clan groups that have spiritual connection to country. And so, we've still got a long way to go. What's our vision going forward is those formal agreements become really true partnerships where traditional owners are at the table making decisions for country, where traditional owners have their hands on the steering wheel for vessels in the field management program and those sorts of things, where policies and legislative reform truly reflect shared decision making. So we can have more of these. This is our latest agreement, the Durrumbul Tumra. That's the largest agreement in the marine park at the moment, and that was done in November 2021. Now, we're mob of proud people, and they are actively on country. I talked about this yesterday. The future is that traditional owners, in compliance, they play the lead role on country. They do these reports where, commercial fishermen are doing bad stuff. And they're taking the photos, they're providing the reports, and then helping getting prosecution. So a number of successful prosecutions have been done, led by traditional owners, and that should continue. That's the future. The future is also these guys here, you know, Port Curtis Coral Coast, young fella who's got, I don't know the name of the bloody diving accreditation thing, but the top accreditation that allows them to do all of this monitoring on country. So they're doing everything from coral bleaching, crown of thorn starfish, mapping their cultural heritage values, the whole box and dice, and they're leading some of this stuff on country through partnerships, through research institutions like JCU, AIMS and other organisations like that. You know, everybody has all different partnerships, but again, when we talk about what the future is mob driving that research and leading the research and discussing and co-designing what that looks like for them. And we all get the shared benefit. Mob are saying that they'll, you know, share the benefits from the data and all those sorts of things. They still need training and mentoring by organisations and that. So, future. What is the future without our kids? Yeah. This is an old photo, but it is one of the best ones that we have in our database. I use it quite regularly. Like, we've got young kids with one of our Tamara staff members who's accredited in drone training, popping up a drone, showing them on country, all different aspects of country. And this is part of our program, and it has been for some time, to the point now where we've got a number of traditional owner groups, Tamara groups, that have their own drone accreditation in place that is ridden on the back of our support. So, you know, I'm not saying that we do the best job and that we're the deadliest show in town. We're part of the discussion. We're part of the solution, and we're part of the future going forward. But that's a pretty cool photo. Another big part of it is education. We spoke a little bit about it yesterday in terms of people not understanding who mob are, what their values are, how do we start communicating to them, what's important to mob, and vice versa. You know, TOs have communications plans as part of their agreement, and so they identify, you know, key events within the community, within the region that they have to be at to promote their business. That yes, there are traditional owners of this country. Yes, they do want to have say in terms of management going forward, and that have an obligation. And some of those obligations are having the right to, you know, talk and look after country. You know, whether it's a fish trap, a waterway, seagrass, or whatever. That's part of this, is promoting themselves as traditional owners on country, mixing in with the community so that it can be a shared understanding going forward for the future of the Great Barrier Reef. I used this photo yesterday, and I've got Karen at the back there. It's one of my favourites. Like, the strength behind what the future looks like is traditional owners and us, as whether it's your government or an NGO or a research institution, whatever it may be, is understanding and respecting traditional law and custom. We heard yesterday from Karen and from Brent that law's never been lost. You know, there's a lot of mistruths out there about, oh, you know, people have lost this, lost that. I'm here to tell you, no. In 22 years of, you know, my experience in working in the Great Barrier Reef with traditional owners, that hasn't been lost. It might be misunderstood, it might be misrepresented, but it's not lost. The spiritual connection of traditional owners to country has never been stronger in my time. With social media and the investment of you know, dollars and a whole heap of things with traditional owners in the marine park, that is starting to come out a bit more, you know, and we talk about this across the country at the moment about, you know, a voice for traditional owners, truth telling and all of that sort of stuff. This is part of it, is recognising, is respecting, and I've been using this word a lot, and accepting that there is traditional laws, there's traditional customs for sea country in the Great Barrier Reef. And we need to understand what that looks like, where that is, and we need to make sure that that is embedded, institutionalised with all of our processes, whether it's an organisation that's in government, NGO, you know, someone who's got their own consultancy. These are the types of things that need to be embedded as part of our future for the Great Barrier Reef. And that's it. Thank you very much.